Welcome to the Peggy Smedley Show, the podcasting voice of IoT and digital transformation, with your host, Peggy Smedley.
Hello, listeners and viewers. This is the Peggy Smedley Show coming to you live once again from CES 2020. Yes, it is a new decade, and I'm excited because I'm kicking off the show once again with the CTA, and I'm here with Lisa Anthony. Lisa, thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. We are about an hour into CES right now, and it is exciting. There is a lot of news coming out of it, and we're just really excited here in North Hall with all the great vehicle technology behind us.
I love when we are here in the North Tower, the broadcast tower. I just want to say that right, because it's always exciting. And this year we have so many exhibits here. And before we get started, tell our listeners and viewers, because I'm always saying my listeners because I'm doing my radio show, but we're coming live through Periscope and all this through, so everyone can see the show today and hear it if they're not watching us. Tell them a little bit about you, because we were talking before the show, another Chicagoan who's first from Chicago, so it's kind of fun Chicagoans getting to talk and talk about, you know, our weather and all our fun things. Yeah, we were talking about pizza. You got to love Chicago pizza. But talk a little bit about your career, because you've had a chance to see all the trends and get an opportunity to see what's been going on, because you really understand a lot of this technology.
Absolutely. I've been at the Consumer Technology Association for over 7 years now. So I've seen it really embrace the entire ecosystem. So when you come to CES, you're seeing technology everywhere. It's not a niche show. It's not a one sector show. You're seeing technology in digital health. You're seeing technology in vehicle tech. You're seeing it in smart cities, smart homes. And I think that's been really exciting, just to watch the spread of technology throughout every facet of our life.
And it's an interesting thing, because when we talk about technology, most of us want to look at it and say, okay, where is it going to impact us from both a business side and a consumer side? And part of the things that I talk about is, I always tell people that sometimes our consumer lives impact our business side, that B2B side, and we are always talking about the B2B side. Talk to us a little bit about how from the autonomous side of things now, because that's really impacting how manufacturing is finally taking a step up. I know there's a lot of 5G you and I are going to talk about, but just from the automotive side, because there's a lot of technology that's been here from the connected car space, but now even more from the autonomous side of things, about how we're seeing a lot of solutions evolve from the way things are. And we know the players are evolving, but the technology itself is evolving.
Absolutely. I think CES, we like to say, is a supercharged Detroit.
That's great.
Yeah, you're getting, the top auto manufacturers are here. USA Today said we were one of the top car shows. And you see over 150 exhibitors in just the vehicle technology space alone. So you're going to see all sorts of different areas of the car. We were talking earlier about how it's showing how everything is going inside the car now, and the car is just being connected throughout all. Something I like to talk about is how content is going to become more and more important to autonomous vehicles. As we no longer have to drive or worry about those hands on a wheel, at some point there probably aren't going to be steering wheels in cars.
Now that makes me nervous, right? Every time you guys come on the show and you tell us we're not going to have our hands on the wheel, I'm always nervous about that.
Yes. But it's like, what are you going to be doing in there? And I think content is going to be really important. Entertainment is going to be really important in there. We're already hearing buzz about Amazon and trying to get their Fire Stick into their technology into cars. People are now fighting for the back seat of a car. That's become the big thing currently, and I think it's going to be the whole car and seeing what kind of content we can get throughout the whole car.
Yesterday I was at the Intel press conference, and Intel even talked about its Mobileye and how they showed a video from the whole concept in Israel about how you could be at this connected intersection or at an intersection, and the car would know between all people moving and cars moving. And I was really kind of with Bob Swan when he was sitting there saying, or standing up there on stage saying, yeah, he didn't want to get in the car at first. I was kind of like him, because it just seems nerve-wracking to think, at least my generation, believing technology is going to do that. But there's a lot of great technology, not only just from the car and streaming content that you described, but also from the factory floor. The ability to do things in a safer, more productive way, autonomously, in the way we're doing in pushing factory lines forward, that we didn't even think of, that we think about its cars or content or machines or pushing things uniquely differently. Are we going to see that not only the way, but how a line is done? When we think about that, how a machine that it operates. So I mean, when we think about that, a machine moving in a plant floor. You know, are those kind of cars going to be done? The way we get the supply chain, goods and services.
Right,
is all of
blockchain
that
is
going
huge,
to happen?
yeah. I think so. I think you're going to see, we like to call certain things ingredient technologies, and everything you just described, I think, embodies these ingredient technologies. And that is going to be data and analytics, 5G, AI, and blockchain. I think all of those 4 themes are what you're going to see throughout CES, and they're helping everything. They're helping product manufacturing. They're helping these companies find their efficiencies and making sure they're producing better products, faster, more reliable, and then it ultimately helps the consumer. As you said, B2B reflects what you're seeing B2C, and I think that that's a great example there.
So when we look at how we want to produce goods and services, and how manufacturers, how supply chain, how logistics, transportation is all ultimately driven by we as the consumer, what we want. When we want things at a certain color, shape, size, is driven ultimately by the way we want things. So let's think about the way we want things yesterday, you know, and not today. We say we want it yesterday. That's the way we want it. So when we look at the kinds of things that are here, one of the things that I always get excited about is what happens at Eureka Park, which is the great new startups. I always talk about great things happen by the greatest innovators, the unique people who come up with the most ideas that we didn't even imagine is possible. Is that what you get excited about?
Yes.
Because they're the little ideas that percolate into the big ideas.
Yes, Eureka Park is just, I think, one of the best stories about CES. We have over 1,200 startups there, and it really is keeping up with the theme of CES, international and global. We have over 50 countries represented there. We have pavilions. Countries will go to Eureka Park, and they'll demonstrate all the great startups out of their countries. So you have France, India's new this year, South Korea. We have the mayor of Seoul, Korea here this year, talking about all the great innovation coming out of Seoul. But Eureka Park is really just a great place for it. It's the largest startup event on the planet. It is somewhere that people walk the show floor trying to find the next unicorn, the next billion-dollar company, and global media are descending on that area to see what sort of trends are popping out of there. I encourage everyone who's at CES to make sure they stop by Eureka Park, located in the Sands, and those who aren't, to check out our website, ces.tech. We have lots of great news and information coming out about it.
So, I'm going to throw you right out there to say, what's the unicorn?
I don't know.
We've had them in the past. You talk about some of those unicorns that have popped up.
Right.
There's been some great ones.
Yes, no, if I knew what the unicorn was, I'd be down there
You're on that beach, right? You're saying that. But there's always something that pops up. I mean, in the past, what have been really exciting that you said has popped out of Eureka Park that's really
last
been
couple of
amazing?
years? Benji Lock is a great one to come out of Eureka Park.
Yes.
I don't know how many people are familiar with that, but he was at Eureka Park a few years ago and saw that Shark Tank was doing their open casting call, so he ran over there again at CES this year, and the founder of Benji Lock, ran over there, got on at the last minute, made it, got on Shark Tank, got funded, and he's doing great now. And it's a biometric lock that he came to him when he was working out in a gym and realized there was no lock that could open with a fingerprint. There was no smart lock. And I think that was a great story. He was an immigrant to the US, now he's out there with his own company creating jobs. Another one that come out is Life Fuels. That is a smart water bottle, and their prototype was in Eureka Park, and then they graduated to the show floor, which is something we always like. We like to see our Eureka Park, our startup exhibitors, then come onto the show floor. And when he was at the show, he entered a partnership with Keurig, and because of CES, and now you can buy these smart water bottles. They're really exciting. So I think those are two things I personally like. I like seeing the prototypes come to reality.
And the interesting thing when you look at some of this and we look at what happens on the show floor is it's not just someone says, well, I get funded millions and billions of dollars. It's that development that moves forward, and then we see them on the show floor. I mean, I think that's what's exciting, because I think everyone says, I want to get the billions of dollars and somebody funds me. But I think Shark Tank's a perfect example. You know, you do get funded, and you are able then to move on to the show floor and do something great. You know, Keurig then says something. I mean, but you create something that others come to see and value. I always look at Keurig as we just had this conversation with the team yesterday. We were talking about Mr. Coffee was so popular. Everybody wanted their brewed coffee, you know, and now everybody gets a Keurig, right? It's an interesting.
Speaking of Keurig and their coffee, I have seen now Keurig has their own cocktail maker that they're debuting for the first time ever at CES.
Oh, I didn't know about this.
Yes.
Now you're telling us something new. Now we know what everyone's going to want.
Yes, it's not just your traditional cocktails, and it's cocktails by Keurig, and they look like they're the pods, and it makes cocktails for you. I saw but did not have one this morning. And,
no Bloody Mary mix?
No,
going?
not yet. But they're going to do all your traditional cocktails as well as some really unique ones. They're going to have, I think I saw Ginger Snap White Russian as one of them.
Oh my.
So you're going to have your own personal bartender that you don't have to tip.
I'm telling you, it's amazing the ideas that come out of connected devices and things.
Right.
And Keurig is just one that is just a creative idea. And when you look at all of these kinds of things that are happening on the show floor, talk to me about the numbers in the space, because it just seems like when I come here to CES, it's just getting bigger and bigger. And I go, by the time I go home, and I'm like logging on, I'm looking at my connected watch, and I'm sitting there going, every year it's more and more I put on the steps. So.
Right. Oh yeah, me and my coworkers yesterday were all like laying on the floor counting our steps, and I was at 23,000, not to brag, but
23,000.
Yeah, and that was
you
just
go.
a regular day. So we are those 2.9 million net square feet of exhibit space. We have 170,000 attendees, 60,000 international. Something we haven't really touched on yet, though, is our conference program. We have 1,100 speakers here at CES. We have 300 sessions going on throughout the show as well on all the themes that we've been discussing. It really is a great show to come and not only see the technology, which you obviously should be doing, but like learning and hearing and networking and interacting with everyone in your profession.
When you look at that, one of the things I've always said to people, you can't just come to CES. You can't just say, I'm going to just walk CES, because you can't do it.
Right.
So is there a strategy someone should have when they want to come to CES and say, okay, I'm really interested in wearables. I'm really interested in smart city. Should they say, I'm going to the North Hall, I'm going to Central, South? Because if you think I'm going to hall, you're never going to do it in a few days.
No,
it's not going to happen.
We're only 4 days long. I think that there's some great tools that we provide for our attendees to really help them have a strategy and make sure we want them to get the most out of this. The average attendee, we find, saves about 33 meetings. Like they do 33 meetings on site. So that eliminates 33 trips that I don't want to have to plan, that someone has to have to plan. So a couple of things that we encourage attendees to do is download our CES app. It is fantastic. It has ways to organize your schedule, ways to favorite exhibitors, a fantastic map that can give you step-by-step instructions to get around all 2.9 million square feet. The other thing is our website, ces.tech. It has fantastic live stream videos for those of you who are maybe in the sands and can't catch something happening at the Vegas Convention Center. It also has our transportation tool where you can look at our shuttle bus schedule. We really want to make sure we're getting people around Vegas efficiently. We're at 12 different locations. We're all over the city, and we want to make sure people can see what they want in the sands and see what they want at the convention center. Make sure they go to ARIA, where all of our marketing and advertising and entertainment is living right now, and sports. So there's a lot of tools that we're providing people.
There's a lot of things. You mentioned sports. A lot of things happening in the sports area right now. I mean, when we go to a sporting event, it's no longer sitting, watching, and we have a passive experience.
Yes.
How has that changed?
Absolutely. Technology is really taking over arenas. You're going to see, I know where I live in Washington, D.C., and I go to Nats games, and you can text someone to bring food to your seat now. You don't have to go.
You don't have to get up. You can be drinking and
you
eating
have to go
and
wait
everything.
in that line. So I think you're really seeing technology in the stadiums. And then obviously health and fitness as well, like kind of pivoting from sports to that. I mean, we talked about our watches, we talked about connected health. I think that there's the sports technology and then there's the fitness technology. And that extends to the athletes too, that these teams, they're using drone footage to watch their practices. They're using data and analytics to make sure that they're not overtraining their players. There's a lot of new technology and sciences that are helping people become optimal performers.
And we're seeing a lot of that data since you talked about optimal performance, even what we're seeing in our athletes in the Olympics.
Yes.
And how we're using that to train and get the best data out of them, right?
Absolutely. I know not necessarily specifically Olympics, but a couple years ago we had a former football player on our podcast, and he was talking about how he used to overtrain because the old mentality was just train as hard as you can, train 8 hours a day, and they were getting injuries. And now there's data and analytics to say, no, no, you only need to train 2 hours a day to reach your peak performance, and it's preventing injuries and really helping players extend their careers.
When you look at right now and you're looking at the vertical markets, you look at the technology, are there some unique things that you've seen down here that you didn't know about? You just talked about Keurig, but are there vertical markets that you're really impressed that's really pushing the envelope, so to speak, in connected technologies?
Absolutely. I think, again, we're in North Hall right now. We're in the epicenter of all the vehicle technology, and we're talking cars, but we're also just talking about the non-traditional vehicles that are being highlighted at CES. John Deere is back here for the second year in a row. They're talking about AI technology, helping farmers out in the fields, making sure they're being more efficient. Brunswick Boats is a first-time exhibitor that's here as well. They were on our CS podcast, and they were talking about how they're using AI technology in their boats. Parking a boat is really hard, apparently. I've never done it, but I can only imagine. And now there's self-parking boats out there that can really help you with that. And then I don't know if you've gotten to the Hyundai booth yet and seen the helicopter that they have in there, but they just discussed today a partnership with Uber and flying taxis.
Well, Bell started that.
Yes,
Bell's done that. When you see that, I mean, we worry about, we have Uber and Lyft right now doing that. Now can you imagine saying, I'm going to call a helicopter to pick me up in our skies right now? And it's amazing the way things are happening. The agriculture space that you talk about right now is kind of an interesting one.
Right.
How we help our farmers, how we help them. How much have you seen that evolve? Are you seeing more and more of that growing?
John Deere, I think, is the best example of that again, and I was blown away by learning about their history with autonomous vehicles. They have really been a pioneer and a leader in that space, and they have tractors out in the fields that are autonomous, and it helps farmers out when these farmers have acres and acres to harvest and not as many people to help. You get to have an autonomous tractor out there helping you.
What in your mind right now, when you look at, let's say, we're thinking about helping farmers and we change the way we want organic foods and things like this,
right,
because that's going to change. What about those connected smart cities? We have the smart city infrastructure now. It's going to change the way we have connected buildings, connected homes, and all of these things. We have a lot of that here, connected home technology. Right. It's always been a big one here.
Yes.
How is that evolving a little bit?
That has been a great story. Connected homes has been really interesting to watch in the past 7 CSs that I've gone to. Last night, Samsung made that a focus of their keynote. They discussed connected cities and connected homes and talked about their entire ecosystem of products that can help you with that. And it's not just Samsung, it's LG, it's Sony, it's all these big companies out there who are using these things to make our lives easier. The Samsung fridge is in a new generation that they debuted, and it's using AI technology to make sure it's making your life easier and making sure that the cameras inside the fridge can tell you when you're at the grocery store if you have eggs or not. So you're not like me and ends up with 3 dozen eggs because you keep forgetting if you have eggs or not. So that's something that's just it's a simple technology, but it helps people. They also debuted their exoskeleton, which helps people exercise better and is giving them a more efficient exercise that they can do in their home so they don't have to go to a gym anymore. And then they also talked about connected cities. Toyota this week said that they're going to help build the city of the future at the bottom of Mount Fuji. And I'm just dying to see what kind of technology would be in that. And when you look at connected cities, it's the buildings, making sure they're greener, making sure they're more sustainable, but it's also the technology with the transportation and how are we getting people from point A to point B in an efficient way, alleviating traffic. So it might be those flying taxis, it might be smart traffic lights. It's going to be 5G is going to be throughout. It's going to be helping process data quicker. There's a lot of great opportunities there.
How do you see when we look at building cities and we try to do that using technology to train younger generations, because we know there's a shorter in trying to create all this new technology using things like AR and VR and mixed reality? How are that kind of technology playing a role here?
Well, that is a growing area at CS right now. AR, VR is everywhere. Esports and gaming is a big story coming out of CS. We have a conference track this year that's going to be talking about the landscape of that. And it's something interesting I once heard, that when you're at sporting events now, as you mentioned, we're on our devices. We're Instagramming our seats, or we're texting for our food, or we're looking up a stat of a player. So we're on our phones, but when you go to these esports, the action is so fast-paced that no one's on their phones. Everyone's just watching these games unfold, and that's a great story here. We have Dell, who's going to be talking about their esports and what they're doing in that space. Intel is going to be on some conference panels talking about that, I think, and that all ties back into AR, VR. And AR, VR isn't just there. They're also in digital health, too. You're seeing VR being used to alleviate pain, where people would normally turn to medicine. You can be using VR for that. I heard a story about a woman who used VR while in labor and didn't use any drugs because she had a VR headset on her. God bless her. But there you have it.
She's much stronger than I would say. Much stronger than I am,
yes.
So when we look at the state of mobility, when we look at it overall then in all of this right now, how do you see then 5G impacting all of these technologies? Because I know everybody's talking about 5G. We're talking about how we've moved in generationally from 2G, 3G, 4G.
Every decade.
You know?
Every decade.
How is that impacting everything?
Absolutely. CES is the hub for 5G. And I think that goes back to how CES represents the entire ecosystem, so you're going to see 5G throughout that. 5G is solutions are in digital health. It's going to be helping data become more quicker for doctors. They're going to be able to process information, share information quicker. You're going to see it in smart cities, as we talked about. I think it's going to be a driving force in smart cities. 2019 was when we saw the first commercial rollout of 5G, and it's predicted that by 2022, 70% of phones shipping are going to have 5G in them. So it's really going to help how we consume entertainment, content, video, how we share information. It's going to create jobs. It's a big deal.
So in your mind right now, when we look at this, we see, right now it's a little quiet here because everybody,
it's a little quiet,
I'm guessing everyone's trying to figure out how to get around because it's never easy when
Download
we're in
Vegas.
the app. It's never ever easy. So in your mind, what do you think is going to change a whole lot of what's going to happen? What's your biggest changes you think lie ahead?
I think, not necessarily change, but I think we're going to see AI growth. I think that AI and robotics is up 30% this year. It continues to just showcase itself in all of our different product categories. Everything we've talked about, AI touches all of that. I mean, even just like the Sony Aibo robot. I was playing with that little puppy this morning, and it has got sensors, and it has AI, so it recognizes my voice, and it's programmed to sometimes not listen because dogs don't listen. But not my dog. My dog's perfect, but other dogs. And so,
like my 3 dogs, they're perfect dogs.
They're perfect, right? These are other dogs. But it's really exciting. So in little things like that, but then also in health and technology and how doctors are making diagnoses and how we're training our workers.
So when we look at this, when we look at the Internet of Things and AI, so we still have a lot of room to grow in the Internet of Things, and then taking, as we say right now, maybe only 1% of the of AI is actually adopted right now. So there's a lot of room to grow there. The Internet of Things has still got so much more room to grow.
Yes.
Are you seeing that here?
Oh, absolutely. Again, I think smart homes is an example of that. We're seeing that throughout the home. You're seeing it, again, with the fridge I referenced earlier, with trash cans. There's self-changing trash cans. I can't believe we've made it this far without mentioning the Charmin Robot.
I was waiting. I was hoping you were gonna punch that in there.
There we
go ahead.
22 minutes in. That's gonna be a record today. But Charmin has debuted a robot that will bring you toilet paper if you run out.
I'm not quite sure. Is that the robot coming in, knocking on the door?
Right, exactly.
Everybody's got to have a robot. So when we think about the robot, is the robot actually replacing the human? You don't need a spouse now? I just want to know what the robot's doing there.
I mean, it's a very important role. So.
I guess it is. No pun intended, an important role, but you see.
That was good.
I know, I'm just saying. I had it right there for you.
Oh, well done. I've been using a lot of driving puns lately.
So you got that one.
Yes.
See, there you go. So when we think about everything, when you think about all of the things right now, when we go forward, the next emerging trends, we've been looking at 5G, we look at all of these things, the pace of adoption. We say everything's been exponential growth.
It's been moving.
Can we keep up this pace?
I think that's a question I would love to see the answer to as well. It's been an exciting ride just to see in the past decade where we've come and how we've evolved and how we've changed in every facet of our lives. And I'm just as curious with you on that one, actually.
And looking at that though, when you see the solutions down here right now, and you see all of these solutions, some of them have failed. We've seen a lot of solutions, and it should, because markets consolidate. And it's not that they failed because they were bad. It's just that, look at what happened in the e-readers. We had so many come out. There was no way that they could all. So I don't know if it's consolidation, failure, whatever. Do you see that just having to happen as we continue with all this exponential growth, that we're going to see so many products come to market? There's going to be a consolidation of products, and then there's a birth of all these new products. Is innovation like what you see at Eureka Park?
Absolutely. I was thinking of Eureka Park as you were saying that. I think that failure leads to growth. I think any entrepreneur or innovator on the show floor would say that.
Failure is good.
Yeah, exactly. I think everyone out here, to be successful and to be at CES, you had to have failed at least once. And I think that, you see these startups and they may have come, I know one woman, I can't remember her first company, but she came to CES with her first company. Either sold it, moved on from that. Now she's at CES again with another company. And we love those types of things. We love people like serial entrepreneurs who are just want to show their startups and are constantly trying to improve and think of the next best thing.
Well, I love it. You know what? I have to tell you, it's been exciting. Tina,
Yes.
Anthony, I
Thank you.
love having you here from CTA. When you guys come and you share all this great, exciting things, we love being here and we love sharing this. And once again, tell all of our viewers and listeners where they can go to learn more about anything. If they're not here at CES 2020, where can they follow up and keep up to date all week?
They can go to ces.tech. We are also Twitter and Instagram at CES. Very simple. Both of those channels will be populated throughout the week. And then for those attendees, we really encourage you to download the CES app. It is your one-stop shop for everything you need.
All right, everyone, we are out of time for this quick segment, but stick around. We've got more to come right here, coming to you live from CES 2020. So, or you can tweet at me at ConnectedWMag with the Peggy Smedley Show. But stick around, as always, this is the Peggy Smedley Show, the podcasting voice of IoT and digital transformation. And remember, with great technology comes great responsibility. We'll be right back.